Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. This is going to be our own breakdown reaction to the New World Dev update from January. They just put this up on January the 19th. I am doing this breakdown on January the 20th. Usually on the front of these streams, I give you like a short 4-minute breakdown of what we're covering and what we're doing. I will not be doing that because we are going to be watching and reacting to a 37-minute long video that is basically them breaking down everything that is coming. And we are also bringing everybody over from the redirect. We talked this morning about the new story trailer from Horizon Forbidden West, and we wanted to make sure we gave that good, ample coverage. We hope that you've enjoyed our New World coverage. If you're watching this later, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you don't miss my New World coverage. We've been consistently covering this game. I've been consistently calling on them to do a roadmap, the New World DLC that everybody is, convinced is coming in February. We may get some details about that in this video today. I have not watched it. I have not had a chance to watch it. So we are going to take a look at it here in just a moment. And I'm going to get it all the way rewound here. It is a 37-minute long video of them sitting around their little round table in the studio they built for themselves, and we're going to watch it momentarily. Just want to make sure Redirect got everybody over here first, and then we also want to make sure we tweet out what we are doing. Let's see here. New World Dev Update January. New World Update Breakdown. Let's just do that for the tweet. And we are live. So sometimes they give some tweet love, so we might get some folks to come in. New World MMO, and the Twitter account, Play New World. There we go. That is not the correct... nope, that's not the correct one. Where is it? There it is. Send that tweet out there. And then go into announcements in our Discord and let all the New World homies know that we are about to watch this together. Okay. Looks like the redirect is flawless on mobile if your screen isn't off. Okay. It looks like chat is acting wonky, though. You guys aren't green. Oh, now you're green. Okay, like the people with badges weren't green for a second. I was like, what the heck is going on? Free Ramiz. We freed Ramiz. He never said anything, so he must have took his bop and left. Unlike some people who take their bop and still hang out. We used to have people do that. Oh, we did go over 3 hours on that stream. 3 hours and 2 seconds. That's BS. I hit end stream when there was only 10 seconds left. That is bull. That is bull. Gonna give people a minute to get in here. Let me get my headphones on. Okay. Here we go.
Hi everybody, my name is Greg Henniger. I am a member of the community team, and I'm joined by Scott Lane, the game director. And we heard you loud and clear that you liked the last one, and so we're here to do another dev update video. We're going to try our best to keep it a little bit shorter this time, but still go into what you're interested in. We're also going to be talking more about current news, things that is coming, in the near future. So some of those topics might be, January. We're going to deep dive into January, the PTR, what you can expect, how we use it on our team. February is really about bugs and polish. We're going to deep dive into that. Then we're going to have Dave V back on to talk about weapon balance and future things coming to the weapons. And at the end of the show, we're going to have questions from you, the community, and from our creators.
Yeah, and you might notice we're unmasked, and I just want to make sure everyone is clear that we take COVID very seriously. Everyone you see today will have been tested within the last 24 hours and cleared to be here. I also want to echo what Greg touched on. The last video came out a lot longer than we wanted, so we're going to do everything we can to keep this thing to 45 minutes or less.
We will try. We will definitely try.
Yeah.
We're extending the Winter Convergence event. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, when we were, over the break, we noticed that people were responding in a really good way to it, and we thought that A lot of people didn't get the opportunity to play over the break, so we thought we'd leave it running an extra 2 weeks to give more people the chance to experience it and play it.
Nice. So did you jump in? Did it change your play style at all?
Yeah, you know, it had a really positive effect on me, probably one of the reasons I wanted to extend it. You know, when you get to the higher levels of the game, the mid to end game, you don't really go through those starter zones. You find yourself just kind of fast traveling around them.
Right.
This got me running through, and they actually felt different, you know, seeing the lost presence on the ground.
I have to respond to what somebody said in chat here. Justin Barth says, no offense to the game director who probably does an excellent job, but come on, we all wonder why these game companies are run so poorly and there are so many delays. Where's your jacket and tie? I hope you're not being serious.
And if you just happen to be lucky enough to see a Gleamite meteor come in, it's like, it was a wow moment. It felt really cool. And even the winter festivals, going over to those locations and getting those special rewards, it just created a lot of like fun and reminded me how cool the world is and how easy it is to get lost in the world. So I really liked that. You know,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, I loved the like Aurora Borealis that was in the sky, and it kind of just gave New World this fresh paint. So if you guys haven't checked it out, you should definitely jump in. So this is going to be a great episode, and let's get started.
Yeah, we're super excited.
All right, and now we are joined by Mike Willett, the World Experience Lead, and Dave Verifai, the Creative Director.
Yeah.
So this first question is going to be for you, Dave. What are some of the main features that we're going to be able to expect coming in January?
There's two main features we're releasing with January. The first is obviously mutators. We talked about it a little bit last time.
Yep.
Mutators are a way to sort of enhance and make the expedition experience even more challenging, right? So there's 10 difficulty levels that players sort of climb through over time. And as they do that, not only do the enemies get harder, but we add new challenges like the curses. And what we're seeing in PTR is that, you know, we release the first set of mutators, right? There's a rotation that they go through. So those will change every week and bring new challenges, and the dungeons that are being mutated will change. So it's a way to sort of increase the challenge of expeditions and also sort of continue to add variety over time as we sort of shuffle the schedule and shuffle which expeditions are being mutated.
Nice. Mike, is there anything that might not be considered a main feature like mutators that we should still be excited about coming in January?
Yeah, absolutely. So because mutators are being released, we want players to be able to get to those locations quicker. So we've added 6 additional spirit shrines throughout Eternum. So a lot of those are going to be co-located next to obviously which expeditions are getting mutations, but also towards the endgame content like arenas. So look for those. In addition to that, we reduced the cost of fast travel, so it won't cost as much as off.
Okay, and this one's for you, Dave. So why did we decide to introduce a new resource instead of just increasing the gear score? I know a lot of people are talking about that.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that sort of gets to the second main feature we released here, which is the Umbral upgrade system. So players will be upgrading their gear via Umbral materials, and we did that rather than just sort of introduce gear that goes to 625 organically in the world, and that we didn't want to invalidate all the gear that people have acquired already, right? So people that have acquired their really cool 600 legendary, or even now we've announced the 590 cool gear, can use Umbral to upgrade. So they can sort of continue to invest in what they've acquired already and sort of build the power of that rather than have to go out and get completely new gear. So I think it's a sort of a cool new pattern, and it creates another cool resource that players can get through, mainly mutators, but also through the gypsum casts and crafting. So we're trying to integrate a lot of different ways.
Somebody in chat asking, did they disable character creation? Character creation has been re-enabled. And it's good to hear them say, like, when they make a system-wide change like this, that they didn't want to just put it in haphazardly and like disrespect your grind. I'll try to react intermittently to the things they're talking about
To get this resource into the game.
Is it going to affect the expertise system at all?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So expertise we're raising the cap of expertise to 625, and we're sort of integrating the expertise and gypsum together. So as you use gypsum to increase your gear after 600, each point upgrade that you get will also increase your expertise. So that's how you'll increase your expertise past 600. Previous to 600, it'll be the current means, the gypsum cast, the bumps you get in the world, things like that. But after that, it'll be the Umbral system.
Okay, awesome. And I know a lot of people have been talking about this next question, so of course I'm going to give it to you, Mike.
Oh, yay, me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Why did we decide to rely on tuning orbs for mutated expeditions as well?
So we needed a method of control of access, basically because we want to make the rewards very valuable to players. So we want to make sure that your time investment is equal to the reward that you're going after. So that was the initial impetus for that system. So in January, we're going to allow players to also purchase them in the faction shop and craft them. And so that's one of the bigger differences. And we're going to monitor through the PTR and play sessions, like what is that rate? Does it need to increase or decrease based upon play patterns and basically feedback from the community and what we're seeing in the actual data. So we're going to look forward to seeing how all that stuff plays out. And by the time this is released, we might have already gotten data because we're weeks in the past now for the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to add to that. I think in the past, I think we were probably a little too strict on our gating, right? And I think this is the first step in sort of loosening that with adding access to the faction shop. And we'll be continuing to look at it. And I think make sure we hit a balance that feels good for everyone.
And something else to note is that we're going to make the vanilla expeditions, those keys available in the faction shop as well. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a big difference. And then once you've actually defeated the vanilla version of the expedition, you'll receive the codex for going into the mutated versions of those expeditions. And those keys are universal, so you can use any mutated orb in any mutated expedition.
Okay. All right. So I know when we look at like the PTR and stuff, we also look at the forums, we look at anecdotal evidence, but looking at data and how players are interacting directly in game is really important to us as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just one vector that we gain, our knowledge of like how the game's being ingested and like how players are going about defeating things. So we're going to try to look at like what were their gear score values for when they cleared certain difficulties.
Right.
Like which mutations are obscenely hard and for what given reason. So there's so much scale that we can do internally, and then we get a lot more data once we have a lot more people playing. And so we're starting to see pretty awesome patterns in Lazarus and Garden of Genesis and Dynasty.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do a quick, kind of breakdown summary of what they just outlined there before we go to the next thing, which will be expectations and what we learned from the PTR. So, obviously mutators coming in January is good to see. They've been testing them in the PTR, and mutators are a great way to breathe life into an existing expedition. I still think they need to consider going back to the first three and giving you a reason to go run them. It's a curious thing in my mind that to not get more capital out of those expeditions. It's good content. It already exists. It's been made. So to me, it seems like they should consider doing that. They also said they'll be doing 6 new spirit shrines on the map. They said those spirit shrines are intentionally placed near things that you might be trying to do with this update. So hang on. And they're actually striking claim its status. It's not going to matter if I can't hire from them. Well then, delete it then. Hang on a second. I don't want Discord to keep doing that. Give me 1 second. I'm in Discord on my streaming rig. That's why you guys heard that. Okay. So yeah, with the spirit shrines, and then they outlined the umbral system. They talked about why they opted to go with the umbral system and allow people to basically upgrade their new gear, upgrade their new stuff, and is to basically honor your existing gear that you've grinded for, while also giving you the ability to raise it and give it that increase in gear score. Maybe they're not striking anybody for that? No, they are. They are, though, Creature. The one guy's videos have been taken down, and he re-uploaded them 3 days later. So he obviously doesn't care, but we can't afford that on this channel. The guy's videos literally have been taken down and he's re-uploaded them. So, I mean, obviously he doesn't care. It's just some little dinky channel. And the one girl's site that we used, Allison by Proxy, her channel, her videos are gone too, where she got out of bounds in the tech test. They're gone. And I don't know if they were community strikes. Like, I guess we could see if her channel is still, monetized, but then they talked about tuning orbs. This is good news for people that want to run expeditions. You can either purchase them from the faction store, or you can still make them. They also said that the mutator tuning orbs can be used in any of the 3 expeditions that have the mutators. So you will no longer be like locked in to having to use or having to make them. So you will be able to purchase them. Now, we don't know what the cost of that is yet, but that's everything coming in January. All sounds pretty good, but we're obviously waiting to see if there's bigger things coming in February. So let's get into the next part.
Now we are joined by Katie Kaczynski, the senior producer. I know we talked a little bit about it in this last segment, talking about the PTR, but what have we learned so far in the January release? Things that we found off the PTR?
So one of the big things that we kind of touched upon in our last segment was just the frequency of mutator orbs and how you get them, and that's something that's like high on our list to just keep aware of and monitor, like usage and playthroughs and completion times, things like that. Next thing we're looking at is, and this was some feedback that came in that we're examining, is like how can we get lower level expeditions mutated? So it's a really good question. The things that we're dealing with are like, hey, does it have like the same length of time of experience? Also, does it have the same number of bosses, same number of chests? So it's things that we need to equate to, see if there's value there. So that's another thing that we're exploring. One of the other big things that we found, and including in our own playthroughs and PTRs, some of the named enemies coupled with some of the mutations are really hard, very difficult. So that's something that we're modifying and we'll continue to balance as we get feedback and see data.
Yeah, are you going to want to try to keep some of them on the higher level just to get the people who really want to go after the super tough stuff?
It depends if it's a good strategy. Meaning there's a mechanic around this and it's something that players can overcome or use tactics to defeat. But if it's just straight up broken, then yeah, that's a problem.
Right.
So there's a fine line between fun and please kill me.
Exactly.
One thing I wanted to add, I think another piece of feedback we got on the Umbral system during PTR is that requiring items to be gear score 600 to use Umbral to upgrade them was a bit onerous. Like, people said, hey, these are really hard to get. Sometimes you get bad luck and you've been chasing for one for a long time. And if you don't have them, it feels like you're locked out of the system. And I think, we do want to make legendaries very valuable, but we hear that feedback and totally understand it. So one of the things we're looking into now is reducing that minimum requirement from 600 to 590. And I think that'll be great. It'll allow people to take the really good, because sometimes you get 2 great perks and it's like, I didn't get that third, but it's still a really strong 590, 595. This will allow you to upgrade that to 600 and then from there take it all the way to 625 with the Umbral system. So I think that'll be a change that seems to be exciting to players.
Nice. So speaking of things that we've are learning in the current PTR, is there anything that we learned from past PTRs that really helped improve the PTR when right now and PTRs going forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest things we learned is you've got to make sure players can test what you're giving, right? So make sure the backstories, those are the things where you choose the character. It has all the right equipment, it has all the things you need. Make sure the crafting stations are at tier 5. Unlock all the fast travel points, give A's all. Make sure players can test. The other thing we learned is that the more we can provide patch notes about what all the changes are in the PTR, the more players can test that. And I know the patch notes weren't fully complete again this time.
They were not. So yeah, and that honestly that was a tough decision to make because the patch notes weren't done. So when we had the holiday, we had just the way that we moved those fixes through our branches. We didn't have the notes in a good spot at the time that we needed to start the PTR so that we could get the right amount of testing on that build. So we were like, let's let's just put out these patch notes that are incomplete. We'll let folks know that they're not complete, and we'll continuously update them to get more of the information in. And by not complete, it meant that like there were things in the PTR that we just hadn't had the time to put into the notes yet, because that is, again, like we talked about in the last dev stream, there's a lot that goes into it. So so we posted it because we wanted folks to have that first, like, this is the stuff that we fixed, this is what we did, there's more coming. And it was a mix of thank you for this and just utter outrage because they thought that we had made like stealth changes, and we were like, no, we just were behind and we're getting them out. So they've been updated since, and they'll continue to be updated throughout the PTR. So the lesson learned there is that we need to get as many of the notes, even if they're not in like the best form, we just need to get them out to the players when they start the PTR. So so that was a miss this time. We did better than we did the last time. So we're incrementally getting better, but it definitely wasn't in the shape that we wanted it this last time.
But some people took it as a challenge to like scavenger hunt and find the specific things. So speaking of the PTR, can you talk about the PTR to come out for February and when we should expect PTR releases compared to monthly releases?
Yeah, so there is a PTR for February. So the interesting thing about February, in case folks are not aware, is that February is just a like bug fix month. There's no major content that's coming with the February release. We have some things that we're focusing on for that to make sure that we get a good amount of fixes in, and we make a real difference for the players that have been asking for things for a long time that we've had the opportunity to work on. It's just that they haven't had the testing that they need for us to feel safe to put them out into the wild. So as far as when we start a PTR, we want to give ourselves enough time to react. So there's not a specific time frame that we're going to be pushing on a PTR, but we definitely want to give ourselves at least 2.5 weeks, generally longer, before we do a release that we would want that to be in PTR. We learned the first PTR when we gave ourselves like 7 days. That was, we were like, we'll just do scale testing, we'll check to make sure that like the servers can handle it, and then we're good. And what we found out was that we were not good. We were the opposite of good. Players felt like we lost their trust, and we felt like we lost their trust. So
most important part of this footage is her Foo Fighters shirt.
We've been gaining it back since then, and so we want to continue to do that by providing the PTRs far enough in advance that we can listen to them, take their advice, and find out what the biggest sticking points are and address those before things get released into the live game.
Now I know that like the dev team likes to jump into the live game and interact with players there, and read chat and see what finger on the pulse of the live service. Do you guys jump into PTR?
Oh yes.
You're in there constantly?
Oh yes. It was pretty visible the last time.
Oh really?
Yeah, we ran our. Some people may have seen our Merc Guard run. That was done in the PTR last month. And then we also had scheduled some days where usually we have internal playtests for the next release. So we'll have something for the PTR. We want our players to tell us what's going on with that because we've already tested it internally with our smaller group. So we want them to kind of focus internally on future stuff. Well, last time we were like, no, everybody into the PTR, pile in, let's see what's going on. This is a big release. We have a lot coming up. We want to get this tested. And players noticed because we have some amazing folks on our team who have been level 60 for forever. Like they are like the tried and true, and then you have very casual people. And we just kind of walked into some situations that maybe we shouldn't have walked into because, we're like, oh, I can solo this like level 60 elite area. Why not? I was like, I'm level 60. I can go to Cutlass Keys and solo these level 40 elites. No, cannot, not a chance. So we jump in and we'll join. It might not be noticeable because you have to have a specific build that calls you out with like different UI in chat, but they join for sure. So we just won't tell you who we are. It's a secret.
All right, awesome, thanks.
So not much there to really recap. Just stuff they're learning from the PTR. Another PTR coming in February. Nothing major there. Make sure and smash
now we
like.
have-
Make sure and smash like, guys. Get in a new. Make sure you're in live chat and you smash like. Give us our first 100 likes. Thanks so much for being here.
Katie and Scott back at the table, but now we're joined by Scott Geiser, the senior gameplay engineer. This first question's for you, Katie. Can you give us a little more insight when we're going to see the next round of server transfers being available? I know everyone's talking about it. Everyone wants to know.
Yeah, I want to know too. Just kidding. So we did less than ideal merges in December. So we had this grand plan to merge all of the worlds that were struggling into a world that would be good, right? So that means that either it's multiple worlds struggling into one world, and because of their populations and the type of populations that they had, that one world would now be what we consider healthy, or it was a low population world into an already healthy server. So those were our two that we were working with most often. Unfortunately, or fortunately actually, right before we were going to do those, like literally the night before we were going to announce, we discovered this housing persistence issue, which would have been really awful if that had gone out into the live world. Mm-hmm. And if we had merged worlds, it would have been really bad, and we don't want to do that. So we had to fix this housing persistence issue, which is being fixed and being tested, and it's coming out soon. Mm-hmm. And then once that's done, we need to complete that first round of merges. We're calling it Merge 1.5. So we had round 1 in December. Round 1.5 will be right after we fix the housing persistence issue, which we'll let folks know in the forums, like, hey, this is done. This is completed. I know that there's a lot of threads on it, but there's like an official post from community.
Right.
So on that post, we'll let folks know that it's been done and that we're going to move forward with round 1.5 of those merges. Once those are done, then we can open up character transfers again. So the merges are done by us. We merge worlds together. We call the final world a destination world, and the other worlds are our source worlds. Mm-hmm. Character transfers are initiated by the player. So those are not full worlds moving over, and they go by a separate but somewhat similar set of rules. And those have also been put on hold because of the housing persistence issue, because you bring your house with you, right? So until that was fixed, we couldn't do the rest of this. And we were planning to open the this is like there's so much here. This is so much planning.
It's a domino effect, yeah.
It's like what we had wanted in a perfect world was that all these merges would have been done mid in December. And then right after that, we can open up the character transfer so that after you've soaked in the world and seen whether or not this is the right world after merge for you and your company, mm-hmm. if you decide to go somewhere else, then you have this token and you can go where you would like to go, like whichever world you're going to have the most fun playing on. Because of the persistence issue, all those plans got moved back. So once we're done with 1.5, the round 1.5 of merges, then we will open up the second round of character transfer tokens for the player initiated ones.
So it's going to be a second token and not just the first token people may have been sitting on.
And I think the high level takeaway is this is hugely important to us,
yeah.
both transfers and merges. They're a huge priority, but we're not going to break things trying to get them rushed in. So they're going to happen soon, and that's about as exact as we can get right now. But we're actively working on them.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I know the community is knocking down our door for that answer. So hopefully we'll get that out. Another thing people are knocking down our door for answers on is kind of the status of some of the major bugs. Scott, do you have that in your back pocket?
Yeah. So all the different gameplay teams have their own priority list of bugs, and we try and take care of the biggest ones first. For this next update, we've closed hundreds of bugs. Some of the big notable highlight ones, I know I saw a lot of videos of people drowning on land on YouTube, so that should be fixed. There was an issue blocking if you swap back to your original faction, you couldn't progress to get to the top rank anymore. So that will be fixed. And then I know another hot button issue is the Void Gauntlet sliding and the animation canceling on the bow to fire way faster than you're really supposed to. So those will be in the upcoming fixes as well.
Scott didn't mention the weapon swap issue that there's been a lot of concerns about, primarily because that's not really a bug. Mm-hmm. We're going to go deep on that in a little bit with Dave Hall, as well as the weapon desync issue. We're going to have an update on that. There are a few more fixes, though, that we can talk about. We have the Outpost Rush. There's a bunch of fixes in Outpost Rush, but the one that people have been complaining about is the Brute's meatball
The
attack
meatball.
is happening a little too often. So we're reducing that.
And it'll be more expensive to get the Brute as well.
Yeah, it'll be more expensive to get them. And then also we have the housing tax change. So before we had the housing tax, the players felt it was too high.
Yeah.
We've given a huge reduction in cost in that through the holiday time. Now we're going to come back and put the cost where we think it is, and it's not going to be as high as it was, and it's not going to be as low as it's been discounted to. We think it's going to be a happy median that works for everybody.
Okay. I know we talked about it a lot in the last previous dev update video, really like dug deep into exploits, duplication bugs, bans. What has happened between that video and today?
Yeah, so there's been a lot going on in that regard. It's one of the team's biggest priorities. Obviously, like the health of the game economies is kind of like central to our game, so we need to do whatever we can to protect that. So, it's a lot of different teams are contributing there, like the customer service team. They're changing some of their workflows to make it quicker for them to respond to reports from players about bots and things that you see in the game, as well as like gold seller spam. So, player reports are a huge part of how we're able to combat these things. And so, that it's super helpful, and reducing the amount of time from when the report's sent to when customer service rep is like looking at it and investigating it makes a huge difference. Also, like I said in the last update, like we don't just use the reports, we also have to correlate that with telemetry because we don't want reports to be weaponized against players and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to comment on the fact that people were still mass reporting. It didn't seem like mass reporting was working because the one guy that reported on Reddit, he actually didn't get banned. If you missed the first part of this, they said that server transfers, like the ability for you to transfer servers, has been temporarily suspended. They're going to go through their next wave of merges. New World server merges will happen first, like that next wave, before they let you do server transfers again. So they have disabled that. And right now they're talking about bots, gold sellers, bugs like the thing happening with the Brutes, and they're wanting to establish quicker response time to those things. If you're tuning in, we are kind of walking through, reacting, breaking down the New World Dev Update January that they just uploaded recently. I'm a little nervous we're not going to get anything substantive in here about the February DLC. New World DLC or like a New World roadmap, I think, is desperately needed. I think these updates are great, but I am worried that it's going to be a pretty thin year for the game. I think they have too much quality of life to focus on. That doesn't mean that the game is in trouble, but if you're hoping for big, huge, substantive updates, we may not be getting those anytime soon.
So we've done a lot of work in getting that telemetry data more easily accessible to customer service so that when they do get a report, they can say like, oh, and this player has already like triggered these alarms or whatever. And so we can action them quicker as well. And then finally, we're always investigating bots and different bot programs. And we work with our partners at Easy Anti-Cheat so that they can identify signatures for some of these things, and EAC can handle identifying and banning machines that are using these bot programs as well. And so I think since the last time we talked, I think maybe about 9,000 or so bot accounts have been actioned on.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then I think maybe about 600 more just that we're running programs maybe we haven't identified, but that we've banned as well just through investigation.
Yeah. Has the PTR been helpful in finding some of these things, feedback from the community and reports from the PTR?
Not for bots specifically, but for exploits for sure.
Great.
Yeah, for sure. I've gotten quite a few messages on the forums, direct messages. Please do not post publicly about exploits, please.
Please.
So I've gotten a lot of messages, and so have some of the other developers and community managers informing us of things that people are able to exploit on the PTR. So we've been able to address that before it's gone live and become a bigger problem for folks. So that has been great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Looking forward a little bit, what are some of the bug fixes we're going to look for in February? Are there like specific ones people should be aware of? Ones that may have taken a little bit longer that we're now finally getting into to February?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of bug fixes. There's not there's not really one that's outstanding because
Right.
this isn't a major feature update. We're not making those like big content changes. But we do have some bug fixing verticals that we're focusing on. So the two that are near and dear to me that I know that the team is working on is they're doing a full pass on missing ingredients and recipes, mats, and searchability in the trading post for those items. They're doing a full pass on that. And then also perks and abilities. So bug fixing on those, which I know is gonna be really fun and exciting for the players to finally like not have to get to me on the forums and tell me about how wrong these things are. I know that like we are listening for sure. It just is, these things are really big and sometimes they touch a lot of different files and it's dangerous for us to put into the smaller updates. So we've been working on those. Those are two that are near and dear to me, although there's definitely more verticals that we're looking into.
Yeah, another one that's important to me is throughout development, when you add stuff to the game, you sometimes break existing stuff. And this is manifested in ways that frustrate me through missions and quests not being completable. So we have a goal to fix every one of those. So we're going to go through, hey, the quest marker's taking you to the wrong spot, or the drop isn't happening, or in some cases we've broken something like in the housing quest line, or the faction quest line.
Yeah.
The faction.
Oh man, I don't want to be I don't want to be unkind here. But the game launched in September, and like I appreciate their candor and their commitment and their passion, but man, oh man, to be nearing the end of January, so you had September into October, November, December. We're 8 months. We're 8 days away from this being 4 months old. You know, so that's a third of a year, and to have like front burner issues be missing ingredients or broken quest lines, that just seems like such an absolute, just an anchor on the game. I don't know. They made it sound like in December, the last December update, they made it sound like February was going to be like a big content delivery, and boy, oh boy, does it not sound right. It doesn't sound like it's going to happen. They have, from where I sit, they just have way too many super small issues to deal with. I think we're probably 9 to 10 months away from anything big and substantive happening in this game. I think they have too many fragmented things they have to take care of. It's disappointing because I still think this game has a lot of potential, and I feel like they're working really hard. They seem like good people. Like they're really wanting this thing to work well. Like the fact that she said, and both he and she have said, like, this is something that's really near and dear to my heart. Like, this is a bug I really want to see squashed. Like, that's a lot of ownership language. Like, you can tell, like, this is really bothersome to them, and like they really want to see some of these things fixed. So that's I think a really, really good insight into how much they care. But what an absolute bummer. It feels like the tires are just spinning right now if you're wanting the game to really move forward. I don't know. It's not unkind. I don't even play the game and I'm aggravated. I'm aggravated by proxy. Yeah. It's a bummer. If you guys are enjoying today's breakdown and recap, remember to hit subscribe, hit the bell button, hit the like button. We cover a lot of games. Usually I am in this scene and we're doing like a talk show, but today we're doing breakdown videos. We did a breakdown of Horizon Forbidden West new trailer, and now we're breaking down the New World Dev update that they just posted yesterday.
Changing quest line, I meant. To have all of those, to make sure that those are all bulletproof as well. Like this period of February, it's exciting because, you know, there are often different people making features than fixing bugs, but to get that pure focus on bugs at this point is really exciting.
Nice.
And we know that people want it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really great. All right, thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks.
All right, and now we're joined by Dave Verifei again, but we have another Dave at the table, Dave Hall, the player experience lead. So this question is going to be for you first. The Great Axe, the Rapier, the Fire Staff, the Ice Gauntlet, these weapons probably have the most discussion threads in the forums, with players thinking that they're too weak, other players thinking they're too strong. You know, how does the team feel about that?
That's a great question. Yeah, we have a lot of feedback on these weapons, and we're constantly looking at it. And I think we feel like we're getting to a place that's very close. And we are going to be making some changes to these weapons, but they're going to be minor. So there's no major issues coming up with us. We don't feel like there's any major changes coming down the pipe for these. So we want to make sure we're going to be doing slight balances to them and moving from there.
Is that something people will be able to experience on the PTR? Maybe coming up
maybe up in the future months. It's not going to be on the current PTR. It'll be probably on the next PTR.
Yeah, I mean, I think every PTR we try to introduce a couple balance changes, and like Dave said, I think we're getting close. Balance is super hard, especially in a game like ours where there's so many different types of play, right? Like there's solo PvE, group PvE, there's small combat, then there's war. Like there's so many different modes. It's hard to get the balance perfect, right? So, but I think we're at the stage where we're going to be making smaller changes, letting them percolate, right? Like sometimes the small changes have way broader impacts than you think about in terms of the meta. So there are some changes coming, but they're going to be smaller in nature, and we're going to be keeping our eye on it.
Okay. Things that have small, impacts. Do you have an update on the desync issue?
I do, yes. So we have a strike team now formed around the desync issues, and we already just put out something in our weekly, which I think came out. Well, by the time the video comes out, it'll be live.
We're living in the past, right?
Yes. And so we already got one major change in there, and we have a lot of smaller changes coming in on the desynced issues, but it is our top priority right now. We have a strike team associated with it.
Awesome, sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick on that, I think it's important for players to realize there's not like a desync issue, right? That's like causing everything. It's a bunch of different little changes that have caused the server and the client to sort of be mismatched, and they've got a team now focused on this, and they're going through them one by one. They're trying to fix the most onerous ones first, the worst ones, and then go down the list. But it's going to take a while to get them all out, but I think it is a focus now, and they're working on the big ones up front.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like people are investigating. We're hyper looking into it.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Dave V, is there anything you can share about the future of combat that people might not know about yet?
Not too much more than we talked about last time. I think, bugs and balance are a big issue for us still and a big focus for us still. So, the desync issue, and I think Dave may be talking about weapon swapping next. Some of those big bugs around combat are a high priority for us. So that is taking a lot of the focus of the team. Balance we're going to continue to looking at. So those are some of the big focuses. On top of that, weapons are still a thing. We are working on, and I think we talked about it last time, Blunderbuss is going to be the next weapon we're releasing. We're heavily working on that. We're playing it a lot internally in the team. It's super fun. Definitely brings a new play style to ranged weapons. So we're working on that on future weapons. So that's the main focus of the team right now.
Yeah, Scott brought it up a little bit earlier, but what are we doing about the weapon swap delay that some players are experiencing?
So in our next PTR, we're going to actually have an update for the players to try out. We have a backtick check on our weapon swap now that's going to really help with the confirmation that you have done a swap, basically. So when you hit that button, you're going to know that swap is going to occur, and it's going to be much more reliable than it has been in the past. It is important to note, though, that we do not have instant cancels in for our swaps. That is a big topic for us and something we're not ready to tackle at the moment. It's quite a game changer if we did that right now. So you will still have to wait for the windows for the weapon swap, but it will be queued up correctly now.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for the update on combat, guys.
Okay, that was actually really good. That was really good commentary. Hang on one second. Quite a game changer. I'm trying to take some notes here. So, basically, the takeaway from that section was with combat balancing, they're not wanting to do anything major. They're going to be doing minor adjustments. I think that's actually probably a very good approach. That way you don't overcorrect or create new balancing problems. Like you buff something and then you overbuff it and it's suddenly way too strong. The blunderbuss is the next weapon. They said that. They confirmed the next weapon to come is the blunderbuss. But then they said with respect to the weapon swap delay, they're going to do a back tick check, which should make it more reliable so that the game knows that you have queued up a weapon swap. So that whenever you're like doing your attacks and trying to swap to something else, the game should know and register that you have in fact registered a weapon swap. But there will not be instant cancels. They're not ready to look into that yet. They said that would be quite a big game changer. That would be a significant change to the game in a significant way. if they suddenly allowed you to do instantaneous cancels or attack cancels, it would mess with, it would big time mess with your damage output of certain weapons, because you could basically do damage and manipulate instant cancels to basically do animation cancels to shorten the time frame in between when you can output damage, and so that would be a huge deal if they suddenly gave you the ability to do that. So that's why they wouldn't be able to do that. So it is good. I agree with Akuta Papa. He says, I do like that we aren't just getting the we're listening like another company. They are being honest and working on hard stuff. Yeah, I mean, I appreciated his candor. He said, look, balance is hard. Like, they're not making excuses. They're just saying, like, listen, this isn't an easy thing to do. It's a challenge. And they are taking the approach with respect to, less reactionary, and more, more nuanced, more controlled. So I would say that that's a good thing, and that's encouraging to hear. So
for this last segment, we answered a lot of questions earlier in the show and all the other segments. We were scouring the forums, we were scouring Reddit, social media. So it was from, directly from the mouths of our community. And so for this last segment, I want to throw some grab bag, questions from some of our content creators who are, playing our game a lot. So this first question is going to be for you, Scott. All right, so are there any plans for expanding content in the open world, such as random incursions or events or dynamic events, stuff of that nature?
Yeah, unfortunately I can't get specific, but I think I've said a few times, and I'll say it again, is the more dynamic the world is, the better it is for us. When you revisit places in the world, we want it to feel different and to feel new and fresh and exciting. So this is something we're going to carry on a lot going forward, and you can expect to see future updates to completely support open world gameplay, more dynamic gameplay, for sure.
Okay, great. Dave, this one is for you. Can you talk about the philosophy of bumping gear score so soon?
Yeah. So the reason we're bumping the gear score now is really to tie in with mutators, right? Like those two features are very well paired. We wanted people to climb the difficulty ranks and increase their gear score as they were doing it. And features like mutators take a long time to build, right? Like it's a complex feature that involves a lot of the game. So we sort of made this decision based on information a long time ago, and we thought this would be the right decision, to increase gear score and have mutators coming out now. I think if we were making that decision today, I think we see other priorities like some of the bugs and other things that we would focus on, and we might not make that decision today. But just because it's tied with mutators, and we really wanted to get that feature to players, that's why it's happening.
Yeah, anticipating what players want before your game is out in the wild isn't always the easiest thing in the world.
Right.
We have huge conviction around mutators, as a long-term, healthy, really strong feature for New World. But in hindsight, maybe it is a little earlier than it could have been.
Agree.
Okay. Let's see. This one's for you. Are there any planned changes or like major overhauls coming to War and Invasion? How does the team feel about their current state?
Yeah, as a developer, you're never happy with your feature. You always want to make it better. So I think we have a lot of things that will be coming down the pipe, smaller mainly for these ones. Right now, our top priorities are War Declaration and some of the War performance. There's definitely some issues there that we've been trying to get better over the time. It's getting a little bit better. We still have a long way to go, though, I think.
Yeah, and I think longer term, no commitment to time or anything here, but we'd love to see casual versions of each of those to get more players the opportunity to try, some of our backup box features like War and Invasion. I think that'd be really cool, and I have a lot of fun playing them, so I'd like to get more people in there.
Yeah, that's great. Dave, the new PvP missions on paper looked great, but in reality are some of the more mundane features of the game, considering it's one of the. But in reality, the new PvP missions on paper looked great. But in reality are some of the more mundane features of the game, considering it's one of the core features. Can we expect some improvement in the PvP missions, or?
Yeah, so I think the changes to the PvP missions, like the actual missions themselves, I do like them better. They're focused more on the actual PvP activity rather than just doing things well flagged. So I think that is an improvement. But yeah, the whole process of flipping a territory is a little cumbersome. And a certain part of that is by design, right? Like we don't want that to be super, super easy that you can just flip on a whim, sorry. So yeah, I can understand the feedback here. This is something we're looking at. It's not an immediate priority on something that we're going to be jumping on, but we're going to keep our eyes on it.
Okay. And the open world, the environment of New World is really what makes it fantastic. This person said they'd love to see an arena built into the side of a cliff or a coliseum, similar PvP area where people can like watch other people fighting inside. Can we, expect to see some small-scale PvP arenas with like maybe matchmaking systems? This is for anybody that wants to answer.
Yeah, I think just to start off, I think our small-scale PvP is one of the best parts of our game. It really shines our combat when we're playing that, and it's something we absolutely want to support. And we do have some things coming down the pipe. I don't know if anybody go a little further.
I mean, it's pretty early to talk about them, but I think,
Right.
Arenas is something that we're looking into. I think if we do it, or when we do it, it will, likely be in a phased approach, right? Like we will release an early version of it that may not be as fully featured, and we'll continue to grow it over time.
Iterated on the PTR, that type of stuff,
with
as
players,
with all other new features that we might introduce. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I would like to be in a fixed where I know it's like 3v3 or 5v5 or whatever the numbers are, PvP experience, because it very rarely ends up that way when you're playing in the open world. So
Yeah.
I think it'd be exciting, and you can't hide in a 3v3. So
Right. Like what we
Really good
see,
stuff.
happening in the open world right now. People will create a giant circle and make a fight club of sorts and bracket and all of that stuff. So it's exciting to see it already happening and that we're noticing it. All right. Well, that's great. Thanks for the answers, guys.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay, so just to give you a breakdown of that section and kind of what I thought. So, man, I got to tell you, I'm going full screen. Let's get the music on. Is the music playing? Is it? Oh, there it goes. Yeah, I don't want to be unkind or uncharitable here. I'm disappointed. I don't think there's much time left in the video. No, there is literally a single minute left, and I'll play that minute in a moment. Yeah, I'm very disappointed. I thought this was going to be more significant. Going into February, they really seemed, and this could have been me. This could have been wishful thinking on my part. This could have been, sort of desperate for something significant to happen, but it really felt like in the December update that February was going to be pretty significant. It was going to be a big deliverable. That does not sound like that is the case given the way that this interview went, and I'm just going to break down some of the things they just said as clues into that. Expanding content in the open world. Scott Lane, the game director, the guy with the long hair, said that the more dynamic the world, the better. They're always going to continue to support that idea that the world is dynamic and things are changing and things are happening in the open world. But that was kind of all he said. He's like, they're not really ready to talk about anything more than that. They were asked about, did they feel like they bumped gear score too soon? They said that they really needed to do that to coincide with the mutators. They really feel like the mutators is a good long-term, investment and staple and standard for the game. And so that I think that's good to see quick changes and quick updates in big systems like that, but that's not necessarily content that's, window dressing on the existing content. Now, it does add to the grind and gives you things to do for sure, but with that lack of roadmap and that lack of confidence in future deliverables, it does start to feel like we're again just sort of in this weird, awkward holding pattern, right? Are there going to be any major overhauls to wars or invasions? They said smaller changes. They're looking at declaration of war and war performance. Even long term, they would like to have more casual versions of wars and invasions. That's not surprising at all. I've continued to feel like a lot of their language and a lot of the clues for the direction of the game is that it will be more casualified over the coming years, more focused on even the single player experience, and so. Making wars and invasions more accessible makes sense. That the one guy said, I think this is some of our best content. So to me, it makes sense that they would take that attitude and that posture. PvP missions are boring and tedious, but he did say, flipping a territory is cumbersome, as it should be. We don't need to be able to flip a territory, too quickly. I think that makes good sense. And then small-scale PvP arenas, that's something that they want to, people are requesting. Like, could we get small-scale PvP arenas? And they said that they feel the small-scale PvP is some of their best content. And I would tend to agree from the outside looking in. I think the more smaller, more stripped down versions of the PvP are the better iterations of it. And they said, that would be something they wanted to support. They're looking into it and wanting to support it, but there would be small iterations of it iterated on in the PTR. So we can watch the final section here. Let me mute my music and let them.
All right, we covered a lot today, and I think there was some good information that we got out there. Last time you guys did a run of the Merc Guard area. Are you going to be doing another run for the community?
Yeah, last night our World Experience team did a playthrough of the Dynasty shipyards on Mutation 4. Stumbled a little bit. It'll be a good watch. Hope everyone enjoys it.
They'll have to tune in to find out how that one goes. Yeah. And you let us know that you found the first one valuable, so we decided we're going to do a couple more of these. Please let us know if you want us to continue to do them, and you continue to find them valuable. I think we'll find the time to get some more transparency out to the community. On the next episode, we're going to be sitting down with our customer service team, kind of deep diving into how they deal with bots and bans and player reports and things of that nature. We're going to look right around what February is up to, and then looking a little forward into March.
Yep.
All right. So we'll see you next time.
They do say I do want to applaud. I do want to applaud them. I feel like they do such a good job. They do a good job with these. They do the best they can with what they're working with. I mean, I think the guy that hosts it, I believe his name is Greg. Is that his name, Greg? We've interacted a little bit on Twitter. Let me see if I can't get his name. Yeah, Greg Henniger. He's the community host. I think he does a great job with these. I think they're nice. I think this is something that people want to see more of. I think it can at least build. It can at least build some semblance of confidence in the in the future of the game. But I still to this day feel that one of the single most important things they could do is a roadmap. Now, Nation had this to say in chat. I think this is a good word that. If they put out a roadmap and then they aren't able to hit any of the deadlines or any of the time frames, then people would get really, really angry. And, you're probably correct in saying that. That would be, a potentially, larger mistake than doing nothing at all, right? But again, I think the way Creature said it is, it's the opposite. They know exactly what they have to do, but they have a mountain of small, tedious tasks that they have to do before they can get to any of it. They have a vast, open, and honest and clear about how they want it. Yeah, this isn't Anthem 2.0. Yeah. I agree with that take. I agree with the take that, like, they know what they need to do, but they are incredibly bogged down. Like, there's just so many little tedious things. I mean, what he just said at the end continues to sort of, it increases my disappointment that their stream in February is going to be with the customer service team about how they handle bots and cheats. 5 months into your game's launch, half a year through, that's almost half a year. That's not what nobody cares about that. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be dismissive, but no one cares about that right now. What people want to know is what's next. Like, what's happening? Like, where is the game going? Like, adding a blunderbuss is great. Having events and things is fine, but where is this game going? It's supposed to be an MMO, and it feels as if the end game is being slowly fine-tuned, which I think is probably a good thing. If they are going to expand the game, maybe they've pumped the brakes on some of that expanding because they really want to get the end game right. They want to get this Umbral system right. They want to get the Mutator system right. They want to get the gear grind in a good position, letting you buy the tuning orbs from the faction to give players a little bit more volition and control over their endgame experience. These are all good things, and if that's the philosophy, that's fine. I think I could relate to that. I could envision a world where they're saying, listen, we need to pump the brakes on all these other things you want to add, whether it's new expeditions, new areas, or new parts of the world. They can't do that until they fine-tune the endgame, because it's all attached. So if the endgame content loop is going to dramatically change over the next 6 months with respect to the currency with the umbrals and the expeditions and the mutators and that endgame content loop, that endgame content loop being more refined will better serve whatever they end up adding. So if they're going to be adding new expeditions, new campaigns, new story missions, new experiences, new levels that you can get to with respect to power and everything else, what they're doing right now will certainly serve that aim, because something we've always talked about in other games that I've commentated on is you can always create a really satisfying content loop. The question has always been and will always be, what's the end game? Can the game have elasticity and longevity? Is that possible? Is that something that is feasible? Can your game keep going? And how? How do you have a game continue to go and expand on the experience and create almost this spiral staircase grind where you're getting stronger and you're going into new areas and you're having these new experiences? Can you do that without disrespecting everything that they've worked on? Like when they outlined the umbral system and how it's going to work, that was something that they highlighted. Like we didn't want to invalidate or disrespect people's grind and the gear that they had already earned. So we came up with a system that would sort of meet both players, like the player that wants to continue to expand and get stronger and get new stuff, but we also want to ensure that players are put into a position to raise what they already have if they're not really looking to go out and pursue all these new things. And so I think that's good. I think that's an insight into how there is a tension there. There's this tension of how do you expand on someone's experience and give them all these new things to chase if they just spent 200 hours getting their build perfected. If you spend 200 hours getting your build perfected and you've got all the right gear and all the right gems and you've run all these different endgame content loops, 100 times over, and they add something new to do, what's the purpose to go run it? Oh, well, it's to go get new loot. Okay, well, if you're going to go get new loot, that new loot will inadvertently invalidate everything you've previously worked on, and therefore you're in this weird treadmill where some people might feel like, well, what's the point of that? Like, I grinded to get all this great loot, to level it up, to make myself powerful, to min-max, and now I go run the new content for the new loot, and the new loot invalidates the very loot that I geared up with to even play this content. Like, if I want to play this content, I need to level up my power, my gear score, my expertise, and all these other numbers so that I'm able to go into this content, but then the content that I've been gearing up for inadvertently invalidates the very gearing up that I've been doing. Like, it's this weird sort of cyclical contradiction of creating a power structure that has that elasticity of like, oh, there's more power for you to go chase on the horizon, and you want to go chase that power because it's an expanded experience. But if you don't go and get that expanded power, then you're just sort of left in like this static cycle. I don't know. It's a huge tension that not a lot of companies have figured out. It seems like Diablo just decided, well, seasonal is the way to go because then it's a self-contained grind. It has the early game grind feel. It's super exciting to be getting all the loot and starting a fresh character. And then once you get into the end game grind, then you can start to do the more harder things and grind for materials and grind for super dope stuff. And once you're all said and done with it, you're getting cosmetics for your character. So if you have like a main save character, or the next time you start a character or whatever, you carry over these cosmetics. And I think No Man's Sky is doing something similar. I think these MMOs just face a significant challenge of, infinite growth, infinite expansion. What does that look like? How does that function in a game like this? And I don't know. I'm concerned about this game. We've limited our coverage for a variety of reasons. Number one, they've had very little to say, and number two, no one seems to care. I got to tell you, I think we're gonna take a big break from covering this game. We're probably even gonna. I would even imagine we might call this stream early. We're an hour in, and I'm pretty discouraged both by the video itself and the results. And I'm bummed because I know a lot of you're members, you're in the Discord, you like this game, you play this game, and so we don't want to completely cut ties, but I've got too many things I'm trying to do with the channel. You know, I could have played more God of War today and gotten a better response, better results from what we've just done for the last hour and 4 minutes. And I can't blame people for not being interested. There was nothing here. If this was meaty and had exciting things in it, and there would have been blogs and other videos ahead of mine talking about what's coming, and everybody would have gotten really excited, we would have probably had a very different result today. But I cannot expect the general public, the fans of New World, the people playing, I cannot expect them to get excited when this was just and I'm not mad or mean. I'm not trying to be mean, but this was just so ho-hum. This feels like cruise control. You know what I mean? This sounded like, oh, hey, we just put out this big, huge DLC a month ago. Let's just walk through some of the housekeeping that we're doing. It's like, what do you mean? The game has been out since the end of September. I don't understand. This doesn't seem significant. This seems, and I understand it from an intellectual standpoint. It's like, okay, I get it. You have to slowly polish this game. You have to slowly invest in these systems. You don't want to destroy the very fabric of the game. But my gosh, it seems like this game should have just launched as a beta. It should have launched as a beta. And then, end of 2023, maybe it could have had like a full launch or something. I don't like to say that, but I feel like they're talking beta language. I don't know. No, I get it, Hex. There's nothing to say. Like, I don't expect chat to be engaged. They didn't say anything. You know what I mean? It was a bunch of 30,000 foot non-specific vague language about stuff, and I appreciate they're clearly passionate and they care about the game. They all seem like really genuine people, but it's like there was nothing. There was 37 minutes of, I don't know, kind of nothing. And I like that they're doing them. I think these are really important. This was one of the pieces of feedback that we provided in November going into December. Like, listen, going into the new year, you've got to get in front of the community. You got to start to communicate. You got to let us know what's going on. And so I applaud what they're doing, but the fact that this is going to be such a snail's pace of improvement, it really is just discouraging. It's like, man, I'll talk to you guys in November then. Like, go underground, put your heads down, get to work, put in, 10 months, and then I'll take a crack. But right now, it's like, you guys don't seem to have anything loaded in the pipe. Server mergers apparently took you by surprise the way they talk about it. It's like, you guys should have been ready with that. And now you've had to suspend server transfers. So right now, if you want to play, but you're on some derelict dead server and you want to move, you can't. They've suspended server transfers until they do the next round of merges. It's like, I think they probably had a slated plan on server mergers thinking that they weren't going to have the demand that they had week one, which meant that maybe server mergers were going to be like a distant need. But because they had this huge interest week one, it basically said, oh, server mergers won't be needed until month 6. Clock rewinds on that goalpost slides all the way into like the second month the game's out. Like, no, you need server mergers now. And they let everybody get their free server transfer token, which was nice. I'm sure that helps some people, but you're going to have a compounded interest of degradation with respect to community engagement every day if people continue to feel stuck because they can't transfer or go where they want. They're on a server that's in bad shape. I don't know. I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed. I see so much potential in this game, and it feels like it's going to be a really, really slow burn. I believe in it. I have hope for it for a variety of reasons, but right now, I'm saying I don't think this game's worth touching for another 7 months or so. They're going to have to do so much work, and I'm fine with that. If this is the plan, if the plan is to take great care and pain and patience to really get the endgame loop right and to tweak these currencies with respect to the Umbral system and tweak the mutators and the expeditions and get all that tweaked before expanding the game, listen, I fully support that. It's far better to do that than just to throw a bunch of stuff in the game that you'd have to tweak later. That would be destructive and that would be incredibly unhelpful. It just is disappointing. It's like, well, I guess I'll wait. I'm not going to keep booting up your game for minor changes. That's not enough. I never even hit 60 because the end game leveling grind is still so unappealing that I don't know. I can't even motivate myself to boot up and try to level. In 12 months, the game will be in a great place. That's what it feels like. If you're looking at it through the lens of what's going to happen to this game this year, it's very discouraging. If you're looking at it from a longevity standpoint, it's encouraging. If they continue to get the funding, like, that's the only concern is Amazon Game Studios. Are they going to cut funding? Are they going to kill the project if the engagement gets too low? Like, is there a threshold of like, listen, if player engagement numbers and monetization, if it hits too low, then we're going to kill the project. That's entirely possible. That's entirely possible that they would say that, because right now it's a game that you had to pay money once to get into, and there's not a ton of monetization afterwards. The store has some stuff in it, and the stuff is good, but I don't know how much that store is generating. It seems like they're still trying to get the game in a direction that wasn't intended. And that's what was so telling to me, Eugene. They talked about how long term they wanted casual versions of wars and invasions, and in another interview that Scott Lane did about they wanted to increase and create better quality for single player experiences in questing and like that early to mid game. And it's like, man, I don't know. This open world PvP all the time game has dramatically shifted, and I think in the process, it unfortunately has really, really lost a part of its soul and subsequently lost its momentum because it's, I don't know, I feel like it's trying to be too many things to a certain degree. Instead of leaning into what it was originally intended to be, they're shifting directions and it feels disjointed. I haven't played over a week. I got to 55 solo a lot. I log on just every now and again. Bought Monster Hunter Rise to take a break for a while from it. Since the game is a one-time purchase, there can't be much revenue coming in anymore. That's what I mean. Like, what's going to happen in 7 or 8 months when the player base just continues to dry up and that means your revenue's drying up? Like, how invested is Amazon in this game's life and longevity is the real question. Like, are they heavily invested? Are they heavily invested? Because if they're not heavily invested, I could see this game getting totally just cut. And I don't want that. I don't want to see that. I think there's something special about this game. I think there's something special about this game. I think there's something that is very, very enjoyable about just being in the open world. And the one guy said, like, when they talked about expanding the open world content, he said the more dynamic the game feels in the open world, the better. They want to continue to invest in that experience and expand that experience. And I think that's very good to hear. But you launched an MMO end of September, and February 28th will be 5 months after launch. So you're just on the cusp of your half-year mark, and February is about to be a monsoon, a deluge of big titles. Lost Ark will be coming out, and then Elden Ring will be coming out, and and not that those games are necessarily a direct threat to this game, but Horizon Forbidden West as well, and then also you have the Witch Queen DLC for Destiny, and I just think that at that point in time, maybe that's what they're considering, is just like, look, the front half of 2022 is going to be too full of big games. Our best play is to spend the first half of 2022 heavily investing in polish, bug squashing, iterating on the end game, making sure the end game is an elastic reality so that we can add to it later. And then later, maybe the second half of the year they start investing in substance and size. It wouldn't be the first MMO with a great premise to slowly die out. Happens all the time. It would be really unfortunate for this game too. There was something very special about it. It's decision time for Amazon Games. Do we kill or spend resources? Do you remember I told you they had to get their ducks in a row by February, and if they didn't, they would be in trouble? I think they'll turn it around and they'll be fine, but it'll probably be 18 or 24 months before it'll make it happen. This is a larger topic, but I would like devs to be less adverse to niching down. If the game was solely focused on PvP, I'd be more inclined to get it. It would be unique at that point. Now it just feels like a generic MMO. Right. I mean, that's something that Ashes of Creation is looking at doing, is having the constant open world PvP and really motivating people to not constantly be flagged for PvP. So if you're just tuning in, we did a breakdown of the New World Dev update from January, and largely, I'm not being very harsh or sharp in my criticism. It's actually more of a I feel like I'm more disappointed than anything. It's just, I expected by now to have a much firmer grasp of like where the game is going. When do you have even an estimate of significant substantive updates? Like if they said, listen, Q1 and Q2 of 2022 is primarily going to be quality of life, iterations on new weapons and PTR and testing and balancing and polishing the endgame. Q3 and Q4, we're really looking at adding lots of great content, new experiences, expanding the map, and that would at least make me feel good. But right now, it's just like I don't know. My concerned radar is starting to build. It's like, okay, in December, if my concerned radar could go from, green to red, my concerned radar in December was like, it was advancing towards like the middle. It was like a yellow. It was like, I don't know. This seems good. This seems like they've got some ideas. It sounds like something pretty big's coming in February. Okay. We get into January and they do their dev update, and their dev update just seems so blah. It's like, what was that? It wasn't necessarily bad. Again, I appreciate them doing it. I feel like they're passionate and they mean well, and they're doing they do genuinely seem like they are actively doing their best. But my concern is now rising out of yellow to like an orange. It's not full scale red yet, but it's like, man, this is starting to feel concerning. This is starting to feel like you guys are you're not treading water. I feel like the tires are spinning. Is the game going to start to slide back down the hill? How much did the gaming drought contribute to the initial love phase with the game? I don't know if the gaming drought did that, Eugene. I think it was a combination of factors. Like, I think the gaming drought was certainly there. I think the exodus from World of Warcraft, I think the gaming drought, I think the fact that they did a very, very good job with the marketing. They got pretty big content creators to talk about it. The fact that it was being promoted literally everywhere. I saw New World ads on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It was advertised everywhere. It was a full court press. I mean, you had Amazon marketing dollars, and even Amazon market research kind of backing where those advertisements landed. And I felt that it was like, okay, wow, they're really pushing this game. And I think, yeah, the gaming drought likely played a role. I would say that the exodus from World of Warcraft may have played a larger role when combined with Asmongold's coverage and looking forward to it. I mean, that's a lot of players that, you have 700 and some odd thousand players trying to log in day one. How many of those people were directly there because they wanted to play with Asmongold or they saw his video? Hundreds of thousands of people watched his coverage. Even Shroud, I believe, was doing a lot of coverage and a lot of streams. And I mean, we all know he pulls pretty big viewership. So, from where I sit, it genuinely seems as though they have they just have far too many little teeny rough edges that need to be polished. It doesn't sound to me like they're going to be able to really iterate, create substance and new experiences for a while. And I'm not saying that's the end of the world, but it's like that's really going to hurt your player base numbers, I think. The truth is, it was fun until you realized the crafting was broken and the second 30 levels were boring to be exactly 100% the same as the first 30. just taking twice as long. Shroud still plays. V charts platform totals. What is this? Analysis platform totals. What am I looking at here? Switch is now the 5th best-selling console of all time. Oh! I was like, what are you sending me here? Yeah, I just, it's not that the second half of the game is exactly the same, Andrew. I liked the new areas. I liked the new enemies. I thought they were very, very good. It was how slow it got. My main issue with the second half of the game leveling wise was it just got way too slow. It was so dead. It was just dead slow. We got to Ebon Scale Reach, and I couldn't believe how slow it was to level. And we'd grab the faction quest, and we'd run out and do stuff. And it was like, I don't know. I felt like I was just getting shot by muskets the whole time. The missions took a really, really long time. The enemies were really tanky for just like open world, really minor, missions. And we weren't leveling. I was even getting big, well-rested XP bonuses, and it just was like, my gosh, I can't hit 60. I'm still not 60. And it's like, if we would have hit 60 and really dove into a lot of those expeditions and stuff, it's like, I don't think it would have changed interest. I don't think people would have cared much, because it was just like, we were so far behind the grinders and the hardcore levelers. It was just like, I don't know, man. This just doesn't seem like, there just didn't seem like there was an inroad for making it entertainment, for making it entertaining. It just didn't seem like it. The endgame grind is just too much, I agree. Just portal grind's the worst. Yeah, I mean, we could have done portal grinds as well. We were doing the 3 faction missions. Like, that's pretty much all I was doing. I was like, all right, we'll do the 3 faction missions, and then we'll get the well-rested. We'll get the bonus for the first 3 faction missions, and then, I'll come back the next day. Expertise seems a little grindy for me. And AGS tried to make a hardcore grindy MMO that people wanted back in 2005, but people don't want that anymore. The level 35 hump was definitely real. I tapped out about that level. I remember hitting I remember hitting 25, and I remember hitting 35, and I remember hitting 45. I was like, my word. And then when I hit 55, it was like, that's when I fell off the rails with the game. I fell right off the train tracks. I was like, I'm not feeling this, man. It's just too slow. It's too slow. I'm not a hardcore put in 6 hours a night guy. I'm putting in 2.5 hours a day, and it was so unenjoyable. Definitely seems like they invested way too hard in the grind and forgot to put content on the back. New World really is a huge grind with expertise. Portals, elites, dungeons, rinse, repeat. Yeah, and that to me is that okay, so that's potentially one of the reasons why they're not expanding the game right now. Because what they want to do, they said in one of their posts or one of their interviews that they would like the end game to be a more diverse representation of all of the content in the game. And so this is potentially why they're investing in mutators and the expeditions, because they would like them to be, maybe more prominent or whatever, or maybe make, a more regular, appearance in the grind. This is why they're letting you buy tuning orbs from the factions as well, right? They're like, yeah, we'll let you buy some of these tuning orbs or whatever. And so, when I look at it, and when I look at that endgame grind, and I think, okay, could I get into that lane? I think that I could. I think I could get into that lane, and I could say, okay, there's a reasonable amount of time here. I actually really like grinding the expeditions, what I do. I think I could really get into the expedition grind. I thought the expeditions were really enjoyable. We still haven't played all the expeditions because I never hit 60. But the last couple times we played, it was like we would grab things. We would go out into the open world, and it was just an absolute slog to get through the enemies because they're all 60 or above or whatever, and so they're taking a long time to die, and they're outputting a ton of an absolute just junk ton of damage. And then I get like this modicum amount of XP to slowly level my way to 60. So I don't know. I like a little tight content loop. Like, I wouldn't mind booting up, a couple of times a week or once a week or something, and you go run 3 expeditions. You go boom, boom, boom. You knock them out. You got a good team. You're kind of min-max. You kind of know what you're doing. And, you knock them out. You get some good gear. You add some of it to your loadout. And then don't for some others. But I'm just like, right now, I think my confidence is shaken in like, well, I would do all that, and then like, what's awaiting me? Because like right now, even if there was a pretty generic roadmap, like let's say if I knew after the summer was over, they were planning on something pretty significant, they would. Well, that would mean during the summer, we would probably once a week get the boys, get the dudes, get the folks, whoever's playing, right? Get the group together, and I'd go and grind. I'd get myself to 60. We would do whatever the end game grind is, the expeditions, elite farming, elite enemies, whatever that is, whatever the end game grind is. And we would do that. We would invest in it. We would take our time, and we would walk through it. But right now, that could be 12 months away. You know what I mean? That could be 12 months away. That could be a significant amount of time from now. That could be nowhere near the grind that I would be putting in. And so it would feel like, man, what a waste, We check out the new Rainbow Six game. It's getting too shredded by the reviews. I don't waste time with a game that gets universally shellacked. I just don't. Enough people got early access. It was getting 70s and 80s from places that are usually pretty positive, and they were like, it's fun, but there's nothing special here. And then I saw at least 2 other reviews that just kind of shredded it, and I was like, I'm not wasting time confirming what everybody's saying. I would definitely hop back in and run through content with you. Right, but again, if we know there's something around the corner, like it's a lot easier to do that. It's a lot easier to say, well, I'm going to get my character all the way, capped out and maxed out because I know stuff's coming. I know there's stuff around the corner. But right now we're not in that situation. Rainbow Six Zombie cache mode game is dog. I actually thought it was going to surprise everybody. I thought it was going to be like this pleasant surprise, and everyone was going to be like, "Man, this is pretty pretty surprising." Like, I thought it was going to be like a sleeper hit and surprise everybody, because I thought that what they were going to do is they were going to like capture this. I thought they were going to capture this sort of fun bygone era of gaming and do it in like a really, really good engine. That's what I thought. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought, here we go. They're going to they're gonna have a sleeper hit on their hands. Like, a lot of people are gonna rally and other stuff. And then I saw the reviews come out, and I was like, oh gosh, no, I guess they failed. I generally have no hopes for Ubisoft games, TBH. I mean, Rainbow Six Siege really turned itself around, Wheezy, and I thought that the Rainbow Six Extraction was really going to benefit from it. I really did. I thought all the great work they did turning Rainbow Six Siege around, I thought Extraction would have been the benefactor from it, The gameplay from the new Pokemon game coming out this month actually looks great. Dev stream was underwhelming. Is somebody coming in asking about the dev stream? About I'm not saying we want instant gratification, just the road to gratification is just boring. Sure. Twitter has just launched NFT profile photos. They're hexagon shaped. Tom Warren reports. They're hexagon shaped. Introducing NFT profile pictures. NFTs are digital items that you own. Proof of ownership is stored on a blockchain, a digital database that is publicly accessible. NFT profile pictures are displayed as a special hexagon shape. To choose an NFT as your profile picture, you must connect your crypto wallet. Coming soon. Well, there you go. Here they come. To quote Morpheus. Was the dev stream any good? It wasn't that it was bad. It was just extremely bland. If you ever see me with a hexagon-shaped profile picture, please block me, says Tom Warren. Digital items that you own, yeah, and can do what with exactly, yeah. Can I make NFTs for my running gags? Asking for a friend. I don't know about that, Zoob. I don't know about that, dude. The presentation was a little boring. I thought they did totally fine. Totally fine. Oh, Rami's left a comment. I unblocked you, by the way, if you can play nice. I unblocked you, by the way, if you can play nice. The problem is as I said before, I don't want to put words in their mouth, okay? I don't want to put words in their mouth, but it did seem, from where I sat, it seemed as if they made it sound like February was going to be a content release. Like they said that, you know, they said something in January that maybe I read too much into. Maybe it's my fault. But it did seem as though they were giving the indication that February was going to be a little bit more substantive. And so this update in January, we were kind of looking forward to it, thinking like, oh, maybe they'll have like an outline of the DLC that's coming, or a roadmap or something, or, you know, maybe at least some kind of a description of like what exactly is going to be happening in February, so like we could have like a better idea. And no. And it's discouraging because since they had so little to say and so little to cover, no one's really searching for this. So like, we're covering a dev update from a game that we kind of niched down into and did a lot of coverage of, and you know we're getting a pretty poor response from the community, like from interest. You know what I'm saying? Had they done a 37-minute video that would have had some pretty big things and pretty big announcements about February, we would have probably had a ton of people in here. They 100% had to backtrack on what they wanted to deliver February 11th. That's what it feels like to me, Creature. It feels like going into December when they filmed that video, they had like big plans for February, and they've had to walk that back, it seems. You know? I don't know. Are people really so arrogant that they think companies like, say, Epic are going to spend the resources to put a custom skin of an NFT you own into their game that only you can wear? Yeah, well, what they'll probably do, Justin, is they will likely sell limited. They'll sell stuff that's limited, it would be my guess. Like limited quantity skins. So like there'll only be, 10,000. 10,000 or whatever. So 10,000 skins, and they'll get bought up really, really quickly. And then people will be trying to sell them on the NFT market because there's only so many that they made. So that would be my my imagination on it. If I'm going to imagine how they're going to do it and how they're going to roll it out, that's exactly what they would do. Because if you don't limit the quantity and everybody can buy the dadgum skin, then who the frick cares that it exists on on a blockchain as an NFT? Like, who cares? It holds no inherent value. You can't do anything with it. Who are you going to sell it to? You going to sell it to a collector? Well, look at the living, breathing economy in New World. Look at what happens when the market gets flooded with, 10,000 boar skins. Well, what happens? Well, the cost of the boar skin goes down because there's so many. Watch the Josh Strife Hay video on NFTs. I've not had a chance to watch it yet. They're going to change your air gun. They're going to charge your air gun for it. They're 100% going to do it. They mentioned how they would have delayed the power bump if they had to do it again. So they have bumped the stuff they actually could. That's good logic, Zubair, right? They're like, yeah, we probably would have pushed this back a little bit more if we could. And they haven't. And so, yeah, that's good insight, I would say. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's unfortunate because they're probably at the mercy of, everything that we're talking about. They're probably at the mercy of all these problems. They're probably at the mercy of all these things that have happened, whether it's bugs that had to be squashed, exploits that had to be squashed, things of that nature. I would imagine that's a likely consistent frustration point for them. That unfortunately there's just nothing they can do about it. I can't wait for the NFT monkey Fortnite skin. It's fake scarcity in a world where scarcity isn't a thing. NFT's the equivalent to baseball cards. Great again? I don't think so. No. Boar skin? Yeah, it does sound like something else. I'm putting it in your React part of Discord. Don't worry, I got you, fam. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have some forthcoming announcements about what we're doing with SNTR Presents. So SNTR Presents is not getting a video today, and we hope to have an announcement very, very soon. I'm not going to give you a time frame because I don't know how quickly we can put all this together, but we have come up with what we think is a very, very good structure and content plan for that channel, and some big changes. If you have been enjoying the content we've been putting over there since the beginning of January, rest assured that type of content will continue. It'll just be slightly different. So if you like hearing about, Valkyrie and what she's doing, and she's got an announcement coming on January 31st, right? You will still get content like that. But it'll just be different. So I don't want people to think we're doing it again. We're changing plans. No, we're going to outline exactly what the plan is for that channel. I just want to make sure one aspect of this that is that we will not be completely eradicating that kind of content. Like if you enjoyed me covering the DMCA issues over on Purple, or Doc, what Dr. Disrespect had to say about Mixer and all that. That type of content's not going away. So I don't want you to hear me saying, oh, we have announcements forthcoming about that channel and freak out and think that we're going to dramatically change gears again. If you've enjoyed the content that's been hitting that channel since January 1st, the beginning of this year, don't worry. That content's not going anywhere. It's just going to sort of change. It's going to change shape a little bit. I think you guys are going to be very pleased with what we announced. With what we announced when we announced it, I think you're going to be very pleased. You're going to be very excited. But that announcement will be coming soon. I don't know how soon. I just wanted you to let you know there is no video today over there. Why are we not announcing tomorrow? 3 like we talked about. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to do that, you creature. I'll tell them the tentative plan is to have an announcement video tomorrow afternoon. So instead of a 3 o'clock premiere tomorrow, we'll have an announcement 3 o'clock premiere followed by an AMA. So we want to announce the new direction for the channel tomorrow afternoon. So no video this afternoon. Typically every afternoon we go over to Presents and we watch a video, right? Yesterday's was, hey, go give Jake Lucky some love, which if you haven't watched that video, please give that video some love. We kind of stepped out of our normal coverage to give a guy some love, and the video did not get very good support. Like, people would rather click on me talking about Pokemon and Ninja, which makes sense. I get it. I understand. But give that video some love if you have not already. Go leave a comment, a like, and give it a watch. We really like Jake, and we saw it. We reported on him leaving the esports desk, and that video just took off like a rocket and still continues to get great support. So we wanted to say, hey, you guys all wanted to know where he went. Well, here's where he is, and his channel's kind of busting at the seams. Like, he's having great growth. So give that video some love if you have not already. But the tomorrow at 3 o'clock, the normal 3 o'clock premiere time, tomorrow will be it will be an announcement. Okay, it'll be an announcement that will be the future direction of that channel. And again, I don't want anybody to freak out like, oh no, I was in, because we've had a lot of great comments. People have been like, hey, I loved your breakdown of this, because we covered the Ninja Pokimane situation, but I kept it very fair, very objective. I didn't choose sides. I didn't really have a slant or a bias, and people really appreciated it not being sort of like drama-laden content. I mean, obviously it was about drama, but I called it clear-headed coverage. Is what I called it. It was clear-headed coverage, and we're going to continue to do that. Those segments, though, like for example, Valkyrae is going to make an announcement on January 31st. We'll cover it. We will. It'll probably be a little bit different, though. Probably maybe a little bit shorter. Those will be shorter videos when those happen. All of the other content that we want to do over there, there's going to be a big content thrust into other things and some pretty big changes, and we're going to announce that tomorrow. So the only information I'll give you right now is that those little info videos about like, hey guys, Valkyrae had her announcement about where she's going. Here's what we think. Here's what this means. Those will just probably be a little bit shorter, just because we feel like we can cover those things quicker in shorter format instead of pushing for 8 and 10 minute videos. That's the only info I'm going to give you right now. Every other piece of info, the juicy bits, okay. The juicy bits are tomorrow afternoon, okay? And I think you guys are really going to like it. You guys are probably going to be thrilled about some of it, because it's going to be very different than what we do over here, okay? SNTR Gaming, bringing the talk show over here was a huge risk that we took in September. It ended up going very well for us, and we've been very, very thrilled with the response and the growth over here, and the growth just kind of continues. I am disappointed that today we have once again circled back to the hand that fed us so well when we niched down in September and October. We really did lots of New World coverage in September and October, and that hand that used to feed us just continues to punch us square in the stomach. I can't see covering New World for a while. I think we're gonna just have to literally walk away until something big drops. Because it's very clear that the interest isn't there, which we have to make those decisions. We would have probably had a better response today by doing more God of War, which obviously has been encouraging that we can continue gameplay with a game like that and get good response. That means the channel's really, really come a long way. But tomorrow, we're very excited, in the afternoon to make some big announcements about what we are going to be doing with SNTR Presents as a channel. Also, tomorrow night, Hilly and I will be playing Nobody Saves the World. We'll be having drinks. We'll be having laughs. No Halo custom games this week. The wheels are kind of falling off on that a little bit, so we're gonna kind of put that on the back shelf for a while, on the back burner. It's a shame for New World and your channel. Listen, it got us into a good position. New World's always going to hold a special place in my heart because it gave us some stability, and it gave us some good growth, and it gave us a good community thrust. And we obviously now know we can niche down into things like Lost Ark and Elden Ring and get good support for that. So we are not going to shy away. What's on the beer menu? I haven't ordered. I need to put an order in. I haven't ordered anything. I usually just order the same batch of stuff unless you guys do your thing. So we took that big risk with SNTR Gaming, and it paid off, and so I'm never going to walk away completely from New World. Again, like I said, it's got a special place in my heart because it really was sort of like a saving bedrock that came at the right time. We really needed it. I don't think we'd be where we are right now if it weren't for New World. If it wouldn't have launched when it did when we moved the live show over here, we were really getting ready to call it quits. I'm being kind of transparent here. I was kind of a broken man back then. It was like, I don't think this is working. The numbers were just so bad. It was very discouraging. And New World really put some steady, rhythmic gas in the tank that allowed us to grow, that allowed us to get some consistency in the talk show, consistency in the audience. We now can cover virtually everything and have a very, very good turnout during the day. and get good results. Even though this video is not performing well on YouTube, you guys are still proving that there's a very, very good core group of people here to support the channel, and I believe that New World really helped with that. So we've been very pleased, and we have other really, really big plans for SNTR Presents that will also feel a little drastic. You'll be like, oh, wow, I can't believe you're doing this. But I think you guys are going to be very, very happy once it's all said and done. It's not going to be as drastic as what we did when we moved the live show over here. It won't be like that. It'll be content and ideas that you're familiar with, but I think you guys will be excited. I'm going to go buy Horizon Forbidden West on my PS5, coming out February 18th. Okay, Thomas, always glad to have your bot comments in chat. Don't know about the rest of you, but I'll be drinking Modelo, a special on Friday night. Yes. Hilly has influenced him into heavy and tea-like products. No. And we're thrusting again. Yeah. The content thrust. That's right. That is right. So. Stream about New World, talks about what he's going to do other than New World. Love it. We covered. What do you do? Don't be sassy, Lambert. I've been live for an hour and 45 minutes. We watched the entire 37-minute New World Dev update, and I was disappointed. I thought there was something bigger coming in February. I think whatever they had planned for February got bumped. I think we're a long ways away from this game getting a big content push. I think they have a lot of quality of life to work on. I think they have a lot of endgame polish that they have to work on. I think that's totally fine. I think that's logical. I think it makes perfectly good sense to say, let's get the end game, let's get the content loop, let's get the polish, let's get the quality of life, let's bug squash, let's do all this before we start expanding the game, right? A blunderbuss is coming, and that's about it. So, it's a bummer to have a game that helped us, that really helped us in a tough spot. The channel was in a tough spot. I was in a tough spot, and this game really helped us. And it's a bummer that now when I cover it, we get terrible results. It's a bummer, but they are sadly not in a position to really rally the interest and the community right now. They're not able to. They're having to talk about very mundane, not super exciting things like bug squashing and things of that nature. When I played New World, I wanted to play something other than New World. I actually loved it the last time I played it until we tried to level at the very end. I thought the winter event was very fun. I really enjoyed the winter event. I did not enjoy going into a new area and trying to level from 59 to 60 and having, 60 and 61 enemies just stun lock me and kill me. We got a little annoyed at that, and people were like, yeah, these areas stink. Just go to lower level areas to level. It's like every time I play this dadgum game and try to level, people are like, yeah, don't do that. Just go do this cheesy thing instead. And I was like, I don't know. It's just, it's hard to play that part of the game right now. Very, very difficult to play that part of the game. So, I don't know. I have confidence and hope for this game for the same reason I have confidence and hope for Halo Infinite. I think they've got great core gameplay that people enjoy. And if you can get that part of your game right, I think people will always come back. I do. It became clear to them that if they want to build a freeway, they can't have gravel on the ramps. Right. Yeah. They've got to get some of these core elements polished and put into a much better place, because if they don't, then adding things like endgame or expeditions or new areas, it'll all suffer from the same problems that they're dealing with right now. So I think speculation here, I think they completely pumped the brakes on their content plan. I think they probably had big things planned that have all been shoved to the side because they're like, we've got too many things to work on. Okay. Okay. It sounds so typical. They make the higher level enemies that give solos in max gear or in groups have something to do. They make higher level enemies that give solos in max gear level or in groups something to do. I mean, I'm not going to get into an argument or a discussion about the endgame philosophy. The areas that we went into were stupid. I had 2 max level people with me, and we all got stun locked. The enemy saturation and aggro reach was stupid. It was just probably another section of the game that's just a rough edge. It just hasn't been polished. They could see us from all angles. They were launching attacks from all angles, and you literally could not do anything. Our bodies were just getting bounced. It was like we were constantly stun locked. Like, I don't need a philosophical breakdown of why they did it when you might not have even been here that day. It sounded like they had some things that they wanted to hold back too from the interview. Yeah. You guys in chat are debating NFT, in Discord debating NFTs. All right, I think I'm gonna. I hate to do it. I'm gonna call this before this VOD hits 2 hours. I'm gonna give you guys a link in chat. If you didn't watch yesterday's video, please give it some love. It's the Jake Lucky is back video. Creature and I have a lot of work to do anyway. We got lots to do. We got a lot to do for tomorrow with this announcement. And so if you haven't given the Jake Lucky is back video any love, there is a link in chat. I am sorry to cut the stream short by about an hour, but this train is going nowhere. Unfortunately, we just have to make these calls sometimes. I appreciate the people that tuned in. I appreciate the people that are a member of this community and love New World and continue to play New World. We are not giving up on this game. We're just going to have to take a vacation from it. This is the second time we've covered it, and this is probably the worst performing stream we have had in 3 months. And I think people have just lost interest until ... Until there's something significant and substantive. I just think we're going to have to take a break. We have so many other things we can be doing and so many other things we could be covering. And we had great turnout yesterday for God of War gameplay, which is just hugely encouraging that I can play God of War on PC Part 3, and we had the turnout we did yesterday. So we could have done that this afternoon and had a great time, but I thought, you know what? They're doing a dev update. I said these dev updates were a good thing. Let's give it some coverage. Let's break it down. And sadly, the community has either moved on or is less enthused until something significant is announced. I think one day they'll do it, but for now, they've just got a lot of quality of life and a lot of polish. And that sadly just doesn't make for great discussion. It doesn't make for great discussions. It doesn't make for people to get really enthused and excited. But February's right around the corner, and a bunch of new games are coming out. And while that's going on, New World can dig in. They can get to work. They can get this game into a good spot, and then they can start to add their DLCs, their roadmaps, or whatever in the future. And that'll be a great time for us to circle back. Okay, so. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the support today. Click the link that is pinned at the top of the chat. If you haven't watched that Jake Lucky video yet, please head over, hit like, leave a comment, give it a little bit of an afterlife, bump that thing to 1K views, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for From Friday. Those are always great. We're going to loop back to Sekiro, and it's going to be a ton of salt, I'm sure. And if we beat the Owl boss, we may have time to jump into more God of War, because I think we're going to just try to keep it at one boss per session now in Sekiro, since they're getting so stinking hard. Okay? All right. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the morning.